Hey guys, it's Ariel again. Today's day 3. Whew. Today's day 3 of getting my life together. um, Today is kind of in a sneaky, kind of hard kind of way. Um, I went to sleep at an easier time falling asleep last night, but a harder time waking up in the morning. Um, it could just be that I'm just not using, my CPAP, which I need to sleep. That's probably a good reason. Um, I've noticed that what I've kind of filled my time with so far in this very limited kind of sample space that we're working with, of just 3 days now, has been I've been using AI a lot, like using like Codex and like using like agentic kind of AI, just like build things that like I'm like, this sounds cool. Um, I don't know how I feel about it. Like there's a part of me that feels like guilty that I use it. There's a part of me that also recognizes that like this is just what the future is. Um, I want to talk about that a little bit later, but first I kind of want to go through like my the night before and like how the day has kind of progressed so far. Um, I've been reading Michel de Montaigne, like the complete essays. And I'm still in just like the introduction section. Like this guy wrote like a 48-page introduction, and I'm just like, dude. And it's like so dense. Um, and like if this is the kind of people that like Montaigne, I'm like, dude, this is gonna be a rough read, cause like the way that like Montaigne is like structured is like there's there's like letters everywhere, like A B C, of to like point to like like edits that he's made, where it's like, here's like, okay, like it gives you like the original writing, and then like first edit A, second edit B, third edit C, like of like the different kinds of like changes that he's made. And I don't know why they do that. I mean, maybe if you really care about the kind of stuff, like I just want to know what he thinks, um and what he has to say. But it's fascinating. It was really cool. What's really cool is it was kind of like the first example of like almost like a vlogger, but like back in like the 1500s. Like what that mean is that like in his writing you can see like what he was struggling with at the time, um, based off little excerpts that the translator has like included in the introduction. Um, it's cool to see how like there were times where you know, he was really struggling with this kind of like Pyrrhonian skepticism, where he was like, everything is just opinion, right? Like there is no truth, um, and all is but conjecture, and then seeing how how later on he resolved that and overcame that, um, which is cool to see. Um, after a little bit of reading the introduction, I got really like just like I just couldn't handle that anymore, and I switched to. Um, I have a collection of English short stories written by Saki, otherwise known as H. Munro, um, that was originally first published in 1903. I have the edition that was published in 1946, which is really cool. I like collecting old books, and this you can definitely tell it's an old book. I'm like careful to like turn the pages, but I don't remember the last time that I read a book and it genuinely made me laugh like really hard. Like there's this recurring character called Reginald, that is just like he is like the incarnate of like British comedy television, um, and it's really funny. Um, so a little bit after that, I got to spend some really great quality time with my wife, and that's something that my wife is also kind of like committed to this kind of like not to the same degree as me, but she's kind of taken a step back from also like just like stimulation. Um, and it's I think that we've been feeling a lot closer, which is cool. That's a really fascinating thing to take note of, and a really welcome thing too. It made me realize that like just like numbing out and just like not interacting with the world, with the people around you, um, you really miss those kinds of interactions. Was able to fall asleep, and then I remember waking up early this morning, very alert, very awake, and then also feeling really bored and like this deep discomfort. You know, I was kind of expecting this, but it's also kind of a bummer that like, you would think that when you cut out all the noise, all of a sudden, that like you would get these moments of clarity. I don't haven't really experienced those moments of clarity yet. I've only really experienced like a lot of brain fog. Just like a lot of just like unsure of what to do next, a lot of uncertainty of what to do next. And then there's just this boredom, this discomfort just setting in. And I'm struggling with that. But today was good, you know? Was able to get a job offer. Um, and I'm excited to see where life takes me for the next year with this new job. Um, which I'm excited for. But yeah, my day didn't really start until like I'd say like 11, which is still an improvement like compared to, when I don't have structure, like technically speaking, right? Like waking up at like 2 p.m., 1 p.m., 12 p.m. It's still an improvement, and I was able to, put on tefillin and say shacharit before, chatzot hayom, which is, few. And also, I feel like the I've been creating like this program, like, again, like using like agentic AI, and it's my first time ever using agentic AI, and it's like really blown my mind away. And here's some things that I've noticed about it. When you first use it and you come with like your brain of like I'm used to doing things the hard way, it's like this mind-blowing thing where it's like you can, if you spell it like the nitty-gritty, and like you can criticize it and critique it, it'll fix itself, and you can tap into your own subject matter expertise and knowledge, and augment that into something that is just really good at just creating a lot of output really quickly and thinking for itself and creating worker agents and this and that. It's really cool. The scary thing was not the thought that, oh, this is going to take everyone's jobs. I come from a tech background. It's going to take whatever semblance of a career in tech I could possibly have or whatever. It's not really that. I mean, that's part of it. It's the fact that after using it for a while and you just become, you're like, whoa, output, 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 output. You start becoming lax in the way that you critique it. When you go into planning mode, it creates this plan for you, asks you questions. I find my brain to just start to just go into this like automated mode where it's just get me the thing that I want. And I can tell because like the quality of the output suffered greatly. And I think what it is, I think it's my brain still trying to find a way to just turn itself off from not having to critically think. And that's a scary thing to experience, right? It makes you realize that what's fascinating is the curse on Adam Arishon, the first man Adam. Right, some people read it as a curse. Some people, and then also it's also a commandment, right? That you are supposed to work hard. You were supposed to work the land, right? There was a darash that was given by a rabbi in my synagogue this past Shabbat, and we talk about Israel as, Eretz Yisrael is like, zavat chalav udvash. It's flowing with milk and honey, and what he says is that, like, milk are the things that are sweet, and it's the technology, it's the this, it's the that, it's the nice things. But there's also the dvash. Dvash, what is it? It's hard work. How so? In order to get honey, you either have to raise bees, or you have to work the land, plant either date trees or fig trees, and extract the honey from those fruits, which requires a lot of work. And it just made me think, like, there really is, like, when I was in college, there was always this stress, in the computer science school of, like, work smarter, not harder, work smarter, not harder, work smarter, not harder. And I'm like, okay, that's cool and everything. And they're like, laziness is a virtue almost. People who are lazy are coming up with, more convenient solutions. And now I'm starting to see holes in that logic, in that philosophy, where maybe it's in the exertion of effort that really makes the end product of something sweet. It is the struggling, it is the pain. It's not to say to not work hard, to not work smart. Work smart, of course, but to also work hard. And I think this is kind of serving as a reminder that as I'm, I have this tool to just create output. That's what AI is. It just creates output and more output and more output. Coming from a life where it's all been input and consumption. Now it's turning into production and output. To take a step back and be like, I want to be more intentional and exert a little bit more effort into actually reading the output that's created, critiquing it, criticizing it, making sure that it fits what it is that I'm looking for. Because I remember as I was creating this this project to basically collect the Chok L'Yisrael Torah learning, like snippets, and basically I wanted to get certain commentaries, translate everything, notice differences between how the Aramaic translation is from the Hebrew translation, right? And see, because a translation is also an analysis. It's also a commentary. So seeing how Onkelos translates certain things, or Targum Yonatan, how he translates certain things that can give me an idea of what it is that they're seeing. And it's a really big, it's a lot to take on. The idea of it is pretty simple. You just pull it from Safari APIs. You pull it from those backends. You access those endpoints. You bring all that stuff in, and then you work on translations, this and this and that. And I think it's where I think it's the translations and the understanding of things. I think that's where it struggles. But I noticed that as I was making that, I started like questioning, like, what if it can fetch things that even I can't even think of? So then that almost like shut off my brain, where it's like, don't even think. Don't even try to give your ideas of how you'd want to do things. Just tell it to do something in an abstract way and see what it does. And very obviously the output that came from that went kaput pretty quickly. But it's cool to see that, like, I am producing more, but it's not like I don't know. It still feels like I'm looking for ease. And I don't know if that's the right thing. So maybe I have to like force myself to like, you know, I have to plan a curriculum for this coming year for my new job. And like I have all the books and everything. Maybe I need to challenge myself once a day to just like sit down for an hour with like no technology, just a book, pen, and paper, and just take notes and just like plan things and just suffer for an hour. Um, I think I'm going to try that. Because I'm realizing that like we're living in an age of convenience, not only for consumption but also for production. And you know, I'm someone that has gone to like museums and like I've gone to like farmers markets, like all different kinds of things to like see what kind of art and things that people produce are out there. What I've learned is that there's a lot of really bad art. There's a lot of really bad production. And if that's and if that's without AI, Kal v'chomer, even more with AI. And just seeing that just how much shitty art and products are out there. It makes you realize that I don't want to be a person that produces that kind of stuff. You know, when I was, it's weird to use was, when I was watching YouTube, I think the creators that I had the most respect for were not the ones that produced work every day or, you know, anything like that. It was the what people that they went out of their way to produce things that without using AI. They intentionally did the hard work, and it took them a long time. But ultimately, like the output, there was something about it that just felt so totally human. You know, and just seeing like how much AI is kind of like imposing itself, it feels like, on so many different ways of life, but then also interacting with that software myself. It's a conflicting thing. But I don't want to. I don't want to stop feeling that discomfort, actually, because I feel like that discomfort will lead to something meaningful. So that's kind of how my day went. And I've been looking into getting some actual hardware for this channel, for my other channel. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think about anything that I said, if it resonates with you. It's cool to see that like it's not all just talking about, you know, how much it sucks that I'm not doing YouTube or anime or manga or all this stuff or video games. I'm just kind of talking about like other stuff. Because by disengaging from those things that were not serving me, now I'm able to engage in things that I feel like are more meaningful and more impactful. I'm able to have build more of an idea and philosophy and an ideology for myself. But with that, I'll leave you guys. Feel free to comment. I'm not gonna ask for likes. I don't really care. You know, I do like talking to people. So if you wanna leave a comment, and I'd be more than happy to interact with you guys. And yeah, so with that, I'll see you guys tomorrow.